Last week, you remember, I was working on this awesome bandsaw sled, and I thought maybe I ought to kind of give you a little bit more information than what I did last week. There were a few things I left out as far as the adjustment for your circle cutter, and so today I'm going to try to make that a little more understandable. The first thing, you remember on this slide I talked about a screw pivot point here in the end of the slide to adjust your distance from the saw blade. Well, what I put in there was a drywall screw, and on the bottom you can see that I have it countersunk so that the head won't be scraping on anything on the bottom, and measured about 1/8 of an inch above the surface here with the screw all the way screwed into it to the slide, and then I ground it down to 3/16 of an inch, taking the main portion of the threads off of the drywall screw and making a nice smooth surface to go into the 3/16 hole. And you see I've got it marked here with an X, and I would just set it down onto the drywall screw, and then it would rotate around. That kind of shows that just a little more clear so that you can understand exactly what was going on there. The other thing that I wanted to show, see if I can get it where you can see this. This screw that I have epoxied down in here with a T-nut with epoxy holding it in place. This is a 5/16, oh, no, I'm sorry, a 3/16 carriage bolt. And of course, it's obvious the round head then doesn't tear up the bottom of the slide when you position it in here, and that way you can tighten it up numerous times without destroying anything on the bottom. If you just used a regular screw, then you'd have to deal with the sharpness of the head of the screw coming up against the bottom of the slide and then creating damage to the bottom of the slide. Okay, let's get on to something else. The other thing that I may have not totally covered for you too well is last week I was talking about this adjustment screw here on the front of the sled, and what it amounts to is your cast iron table is like my hand is here when it's slid into when you slide the sled onto the bandsaw table, and this comes up against it, and you can adjust then of course in and out to get the correct distance to line up your center point with the teeth on the front of the bandsaw blade. Well, that wraps things up pretty well for this week. Next week we'll try to close this out with segment 3 on this bandsaw sled. We'll try to crowd a lot more in next week because we've got a lot to cover. And so until next week, this is Wayne, and that is What's Up with Wayne for one more week. We'll talk to you later. Goodbye.